Hi everybody, welcome to Sunya IAS and welcome back to the Environment High Yielding Topic Series for Prelims 2023. Okay, here we are going to cover a very important topic that is known as biosphere reserves. Okay, very important also from the mapping point of view, but also from it's a combination of geography and environment. So I'll be covering all these important things about all these biosphere reserves. This is one video wherein we'll cover all the biosphere reserves, all the important details. Okay, so very useful from your exams perspective. Maybe 1 week before the exam also, if you want to revise, this will be a very good resource. Okay, so we'll start now. Number one, how many biosphere reserves do we have in India? Okay, so we have 18 biosphere reserves. Fine. Second question, who designates a biosphere reserve? Do we have an act, or like how are they designated? So number one, it is not having any legal backing. So there is no legal backing as such. Okay, these are designated by UNESCO, right? So UNESCO has this Man and Biosphere Reserves program, okay, wherein the biosphere reserves are designated. That is one thing you need to know. I'll come back to what are the areas within biosphere reserves, but let me just tell you first of all what are the important, let's say, details or some facts related to biosphere reserves. We've already seen we have 18 biosphere reserves in India. The first biosphere reserve in India was Nilgiris. Okay, so Nilgiri was the first one. Now the second question comes to which is the largest one and which is the smallest one. Okay, so largest is the Rann of Kutch in Gujarat. Okay, that you can also note down. The smallest one is actually Dibru-Saikhowa, that is in Assam. Okay, that also we will see in the subsequent biosphere reserve. So the largest one, again I am repeating, the first is Nilgiri. The largest one is Rann of Kutch, this is in Gujarat, and the smallest one, this is Dibru-Saikhowa in Assam, right? Now UNESCO, I told you, has a Man and Biosphere Reserves program, MAB program. In India, 12 of the 18 biosphere reserves are under UNESCO's MAB program. That also we'll see. In the slides I've segregated. Initially we'll see the 12 MAB sites and then the 6 non-MAB sites. Okay, and it's always easier for us to remember the 6 non-MAB sites. Okay, then you can see which is MAB and which is non-MAB. Okay, now the first thing that you need to know conceptually, that in a biosphere reserve you can have national parks, in fact more than one. You can have wildlife sanctuaries, you can also have wetlands, you can have tiger reserves, so on and so forth, and even more of them. Okay, because when we'll see examples, let's say like cold desert biosphere reserve, or for example Nilgiri, Agastyamalai, you will see many protected areas within one biosphere reserve. So geographically it's a huge area wherein multiple protected sites can be present. That's number one. However, they themselves are not covered under any act. Again I'm telling you, these are designated by UNESCO. Fine. Second thing, now there are different areas in a biosphere reserve. So if you can see from the image, this is the smallest, this is the core area, number one. After that you have an outer area, this is the buffer area, and the outermost area, this is known as transition area. So let's say this is your normal human life and vegetation. So the transition area is the area which creates a divide between the buffer area and the real world. Okay, so outermost, transition, then buffer, and then core. And from the basic knowledge we can understand, the outermost area will have the most human intervention, and as I go inwards, the human intervention is going to decrease. Okay, so in transition area you can see in the image also, there can be habitations, there can be some settlements, there can be more activities which can be present here. What will happen as I go one step inside, that is when I go to buffer zones, then the human intervention will decrease. There can be some research related activities. Okay, there can be limited, let's say, human interference, but this is going to be limited. And now as I go only to the core areas, here you will have the maximum protection. Okay, now you can see the human intervention based activities have gone, and maximum what you can allow is some of the research based activities. Okay, so conceptually please make sure you understand both these things. What can be a part of biosphere reserve, number one. Second, what all activities can be allowed in which zone. This is also one important thing for you to know, right? Now, slide by slide, we will cover every biosphere reserve. Only the most important thing, let's say flora, fauna, any river, tribe, is what we are going to cover in each of them, okay? So, I will start, before I do so, just one more thing I would like to tell you, that these biosphere reserves is there, that is one, okay? And then there is a Man and Biosphere Reserve Program. Now, this was started in the year 1971, right? And then there is a world network of biosphere reserves, okay? Now, when I'm talking about world network of biosphere reserve, we are talking about how are the changes happening overall in the ecosystems, okay? Because see, these biosphere reserves have both the animal, the different settlements, and also the human population. So there is a close interaction. So we also talk about human welfare, okay? And we also talk about how can the knowledge, etc., be transferred from one place to other, okay? That is why this is known as a world network of biosphere reserves. So of course, this is not just in India. Every other country, etc., they will have different biosphere reserves, and that is how these things can be spoken about. All right. So that is one. So now we'll start. Number one, and I hope you're able to see the map also. So what we've done, these are very interactive kind of maps, okay? And all these details we'll see one by one. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. This was the first biosphere reserve to be designated, okay? And now you can see from the image, intersection of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So image also is very clear to you. Now, this segregation will make a lot of sense to you. What are the protected areas included in this Nilgiris? So if I talk of national parks, you have Aramalam, Mudumalai, Mukurti, Nagarhole, Bandipur and Silent Valley, okay? In my previous lectures also, I have covered Mudumalai. If you have seen the Elephant Whisperers documentary, we have covered that. Second, I have also spoken about Mukurti when I had done Nilgiri Tar, okay? I had told you it is found in Iravakulam and Mukurti, right? Bandipur also we have discussed when we had spoken about an invasive species known as Lantana camara. So just remember, whatever current affairs you are able to find, just make a mental note of it, alright? Wildlife sanctuaries, Wayanad, often in the news. Then you have Karimpuza, okay? And you have Satyamangalam. What is important about Satyamangalam is that it forms a link between Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats. That is Satyamangalam. Tiger reserves, what do you find? Nagarhole, Bandipur and Mudumalai. Why am I focusing so much on these protected areas? Because in the year 2019, if you see and go back, they had asked you what are the protected areas found in Agastmalai Biosphere Reserve, Shedurni, Pepar, etc., right? So you should know something about it. Fine. Now, Nilgiri is the region, you know, you can find tribes like Toda tribe here, okay? And now, some of the important fauna, etc., has also been highlighted. For example, Nilgiri langur, lion-tailed macaque. I think many of you would know lion-tailed macaque, right? There is also Nilgiri tar. So from the name itself, you can easily understand what is the particular species going to be about. Okay. Now you also know this region is also famous, very close by, for its Shola forest. Okay, the tropical montane forests in general. Right. So whatever things you know about Nilgiri can be at least accommodated here. So this is something about the Nilgiri. The location is something that you need to know. Moving on. Gulf of Mannar. Now this was in the current affairs as well. Okay. So this is first of all the location of Gulf of Mannar. And now every slide we'll see. So we are just going to add Nilgiri we have covered. Now we see Gulf of Mannar. Why was this in the news? First of all, see, national park is the Gareen. Gulf of Mannar Marine National Park. This was in the news because dugong, which is the sea cow. So the first conservation reserve for dugong has been established in Gulf of Mannar. Number one, which is why you know that dugong or sea cow, which is a marine herbivore, is found in this region, right? Now, second, this also term is this invertebrate is also important for you to know. This is Balanoglossus. What is this? So this is a kind of an invertebrate which forms an important link between the vertebrates and the invertebrates in general. It is also known as a living fossil record. Okay, so this is also found in Gulf of Mannar. Okay. Apart from that, you can find some sea turtles, crustaceans. What are crustaceans? For example, crabs, oysters, right? Lobsters. So you have mollusks, echinoderms, etc., which you can find. But the most important thing is Dugong Conservation Reserve is found in Gulf of Mannar. This is important from current affairs point of view. Okay. And it is important for our marine environment, for coastal buffer zone, etc., etc. So that is something which is very important to be found here. Okay, right? Now, Marakears, these are the primary inhabitants. I told you I'll also give you some tribe or some other related informations in every of the biosphere reserve wherever applicable. So Marakears are these prominent inhabitants which are also found in Gulf of Mannar. So that is what you need to know. All right. This is the second one. Moving now to the third one. We've done Nilgiri, we've done Gulf of Mannar. Now we go to Sunderbans. Okay. Sunderbans, what is the national park? It is Sunderbans National Park. Okay. So you have sanctuaries here as well. Tiger Reserve also. Now this is a very important. Why this is very important? Because you have very good variety of mangrove forests which are found here. Okay. When I'm talking of Sunderbans. Apart from this, what you also need to know, you find Sundari tree, you have the Bengal tiger, different species of crocodile, northern river terrapin. By the way, this northern river terrapin is critically endangered and it's a part of species recovery program. And it's an endemic species which is found here. Okay. You also found olive ridley turtles, you also found hawksbill turtle. Okay. Apart from this, you can find Irrawaddy dolphins, Gangetic river dolphins, etc. So just be aware of what all you can find in this region. Okay. Right, but most important, the largest delta and contiguous mangrove forests is what you are going to find here. Okay, so that is also something that you need to be aware about. Now the last things, which are the rivers, etc., which are found. So you have Saptamukhi, Thakuran, Matla, and Goa Saba. So these are the rivers which are also going to be found in this. Okay, so this is Sunderbans. Next we move to Nanda Devi. So we've covered 3 already. This is the 4th one, Nanda Devi, right? In Nanda Devi, what you need to know? Number 1, the river here is Rishi Ganga. That's number 1. Now second, it has a very important World Heritage Site known as Valley of Flowers. Okay, right? Valley of Flowers has already been asked. I think if you remember the question of 2019, they asked you which of the following protected areas lies completely in the alpine zone, temperate alpine zone. The answer to that was Valley of Flowers. Fine. So national park is Nanda Devi, Valley of Flowers, right? Sanctuary is also this. Now see, you can find snow leopard here. You can find Himalayan black bear. You can also find musk deer. By the way, if you again remember, musk deer has also been asked. Okay. Musk deer can be found in Nanda Devi. It can also be found in Ascot Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay. You can also find Himalayan thar, blue sheep, bharal, which is also known as, right. You have the World Heritage Site, I already told you, Valley of Flowers here, surrounded by this Rishi Ganga river. Okay. And there are some important peaks like again Nanda Devi, etc., Rishikot, which is found in this region. Okay. So here this is something you need to know. Apart from that, I have used the term with respect to Valley of Flowers. I said totally in the alpine zone it is found, right? Now one more thing you need to know about this thing is that you can also find alpine meadows here, which is also known as bugyals. You might have heard about this. Alpine meadows, bugyals are also found here. Okay. So this is Nanda Devi. Now moving on. We've already done 4. We now move to the 5th one, Nokrek. Okay. Now Nokrek, you find a Nokrek National Park here. Number 1. Now this of course is in Meghalaya. Which is the fauna? Fauna, this is red panda. Red panda is found here. Red panda is also found in Sikkim. Wherein? Kanchenjunga. Okay. You have Asian elephant, slow loris, giant flying squirrel, and you also have Hollock gibbons, which is the only ape species which you find in India. Okay. Nokrek is the highest peak of Garo Hills. You should now know what is like the sequence of Garo, Khasi, Jayantia, etc. Rivers, Ganol, Dareng, and Simsang. Okay, Simsang is actually the longest and the largest river here. That is something. This we have already seen. Tribes like Garo, Banyas and Hajons are going to found in Nokrek National Park. Okay, and overall Nokrek Biosphere Reserve. Okay, and then the deity or the let's say they worship basically. So you have this Saljong deity which they are going to be worshipping. Okay, so that is also one thing that you can be aware about. Okay, so this is the most worshipped deity to which the Garo community worships. Okay, that is Saljong deity. Next is Panchamadi. Panchamadi, as you can easily see, you can find this region of this is the Panchamadi, Madhya Pradesh. National Park is Satpura. Sanctuary is Bori and Panchamadi. Tiger Reserve is also Satpura. Okay. Now again, see, this is going to be found in the central part of India. So the vegetation etc. will be different. The animals found will be different. Fine. So you have giant squirrel, phalanx squirrels, chinkara etc. which is going to be found. Wild dogs known as dhole, bison, Indian wolf. This relatively is a semi-arid region because from the location you can also understand. Highest peak is known as Dhoopgarh. Okay. Now this plateau, Panchamadi plateau, is also known as the Queen of Satpura. Okay. That is also you need to know. Apart from this, what kind of forests you have? Deciduous forest which can be found here. You can also have different kind of, let's say, subtropical deciduous etc. which you can find. Trees which you can find, teak and sal. And lastly, what are the tribes which mostly inhabit? So you have the Gonds, okay, and you have the Korkus. This is with respect to Panchamadi. All right. Now moving forward, Similipal. Now Similipal you might have come across in your current affairs reading as well. Similipal is in Odisha, number 1. Okay. The national park is Similipal. Sanctuary is Hadgad and Kuldiha. Tiger Reserve is also Similipal, and lastly is Elephant Reserve. Elephant Reserve is Mayurbhanj. Now you tell me, how many elephant reserves do we have in India? And second, which is the most recent one? Okay, and more specifically, in which area is the most recent elephant reserve designated? Okay. The fauna which is going to find, one is Bengal tiger. We also saw Bengal tiger in Sunderbans. You have Asian elephant, Gaur and Chausinga. That is also important for you to know, right? Now these are basically the you also have some important tribes in the region that I'll also come very quickly to. So one is this Mankidia tribe, okay, which is a PVTG, particularly vulnerable tribal group. Again, one more thing you need to know, that Odisha has the maximum PVTGs in India. Total PVTGs in India you have 75, and the maximum will be found in Odisha. Okay. Highest peak in Similipal is Khairi Buru peak. That's number 1. The rivers which go through, I'll just maybe just say. So one is Budha Balanga, Khairi, Salandi and Palpala. Right? Tribes like Mankidiyas, you should know. You also have Ho. I hope you remember, this was also asked once in the exam. Okay, the Ho, Kui, etc. are related to what? So they were basically tribal languages. Right? So Khadiyas, Mankidiyas, Gonda, Mundas, these are different tribes. And lastly, you have Barai and Joranda Falls. All of this is related to Similipal. Similipal is actually more important, which is why I've spent more time on Similipal. Okay. Now we see Achnakmar Amarkantak. The sanctuary is by the same name, right? So here, all you need to know, first of all, the location. So you can be, let's say, very easily you can find this is basically in the Chhattisgarh, and some part also will overlap with Madhya Pradesh. Fine, that is one. Apart from this, what is most important here? The ranges, Maikal ranges, Vindhya and Satpura. Now tell me which national, which biosphere reserve is known as Queen of Satpura. Okay, we've already done that. Important source of 3 major rivers, Narmada, Johila and Son. Okay, so see, sometimes they can directly ask you a question based on geography, or sometimes they can also link current affairs. Now here, for example, you have Saras crane. Okay, you have this Asian white-backed vulture, Indian wild dog. Okay, and the sacred groves, etc., which is also found here, right? So this is Achnakmar Amarkantak. Now, next we move to is Great Nicobar. Okay, Now the national parks here, one is Campbell Bay and other is Galathea, right? Sanctuary is also known as Galathea, right? Now you already know that Andaman, Nicobar, Western Ghats, etc., they have very high biodiversity. So you will find a lot of fauna here in the region, including turtles, including eagles, swiftlet, birds, dugong, so on and so forth, right? So don't have to remember all of them. Just maybe have a quick look at this, but in general be aware that, let's say, Great Nicobar and all these regions, they will have a lot of let's say variety. Now here Shompen, Nicobaris, all these tribes are also important here. Okay, here is what you'll also have the Indira Point. Okay, now you tell me, why is Indira Point significant from a geography perspective? Okay, and apart from this, you will have the broadleaf trees, etc., tropical and subtropical different regions which will be found here in Great Nicobar. Okay, next is Agastyamalai. By the way, this was already asked, so in your notes please write down PYQ, and you have to look at the PYQ as well for Agastyamalai. Sanctuaries are Shedorne, Pepar and Nayar, and tiger reserves is Kalakkad, Mudantharai. Okay, so number one, you should know the protected areas in this, and I will tell you, like for example, Agastyamalai, they've already asked. Now what they can ask from you is maybe Nilgiris or perhaps cold desert. So even do those properly. Okay, so they can just directly ask you which are the sanctuaries and the tiger reserves in the region. Okay, now it is having Asian elephant, Nilgiri Thar, etc. Right? Now, if Asian elephant is found, and elephants in general are in use, so you can be asked a comparison between Asian elephant and African elephant. So you also have to be prepared for that. Okay. Now you will have a lot of montane rainforest, Shola forest. I already told you. Moist deciduous tropical evergreen, because see, this is the location Agastyamalai, as you can see. All right. So this is Agastyamalai location. And very important, there is a tribe, one of the most primitive tribes of the world, Kanikaran tribe. Kanikaran tribe is found here. This is one of the most primitive tribes of the world. Okay. So even this part can directly be asked from you. Now we go to Kanchenjunga. Okay. Kanchenjunga is known as, by the way, this is in Sikkim, number one, if you can see the image here. Now, why is Kanchenjunga important? Kanchenjunga is important because this is UNESCO's mixed heritage site. What is a mixed heritage site? It will have elements of cultural site. It will have elements of natural site. So natural and cultural here are mixed. This is why this is known as a mixed heritage site. This is Kanchenjunga in Sikkim. All right. I already told you this. Here you can also find red panda, musk deer, snow leopard. Okay. Now can you tell me, there's an important declaration with respect to snow leopard? What is the name of that declaration? Apart from that, you can find a lot of, see, Himalayan, Tibetan. So you can also understand a lot of these like say fauna which are present in cold or higher altitudes will be found in Kanchenjunga. Okay, so that is one. And because see, this is a mixed site, we have seen this from environment perspective, but you should also do it from cultural perspective as well. Right? For example, you will have this Tholung monastery. You can have this Mount Kanchenjunga, you can have Zemu glacier, etc. Right? It is also part of the biodiversity hotspots. Okay, and very important, it's a World Heritage Site. So the probability of a question getting asked from here is always high. Right? This is Kanchenjunga. Now we move to Panna. Okay. In Panna, what we'll see, first of all, the national park is Panna. The sanctuary is Gangau. Okay. Tiger reserve is also Panna. Alright. That is an important part that you need to know. For example, Panna, yeah, this is the part that you need to be aware about. What can you find in terms of fauna? So you can find Bengal tiger, Chinkara, Nilgai, Samba, sloth bear, etc. Things which we normally had found in Panchmadi or let's say Achnakar, Amarkantak. Okay, similar things. Now, Gonds, Kharayus and Yadavas, these are the important ethnic groups which are going to be found here. That is important. The river which is going to be found is Kane River. This is also important. Right? And the last point here, that you have a Pranami sect. So it is a very important pilgrimage site for the Pranami sect. Okay. So Pranami sect, it is an important pilgrimage site. Panna. Okay. The river is Kane. What are the ethnic groups and what are the important protected areas which are going to be found here. Okay. This is all with respect to Panna. All right. Now here all other thing which you need to know here is that Panna was also one of the most recent biosphere reserves to be added to the overall list of biosphere reserves. This is what also makes Panna important. All right. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. See, we have almost done 12 biosphere reserves. Okay, now we should do the other remaining 6 biosphere reserves. And why have we made this distinction? So that you are aware about what are the biosphere reserves under MAB program and ones which are not under MAP program. So the other remaining we'll see. Number 1 is Manas. Okay. So in Manas you have Manas National Park, Wildlife Sanctuary and Tiger Reserve. Manas you already know. It is found in Assam. Okay. So that is one thing. Now Manas is very prominent, known for pygmy hog. What is pygmy hog? It is the world's smallest pig. Earlier it was classified as critically endangered, but now it is classified as endangered. So it is found here. You also find Indian rhinoceros. Okay, so can you tell me where is the region in India where you find 90% of one-horned rhinos? Okay. Apart from that, you have golden langur, wild water buffalo, okay, slow loris, etc. Chinese pangolin, Bengal florican dholes, etc. That you are finding it here. Okay. Other than that, very important, the river here is Manas. It is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Which site? It's a UNESCO Natural World Heritage Site. We have total 7 natural sites. One of them is Manas. Okay. It is contiguous also with Royal Manas, which is the park which is in Bhutan. And it is a part of Eastern Himalayan foothills. So this is also something you need to know. This is about Manas. Okay. Second is Dihang Dibang. Okay. Now when we are talking of Dihang Dibang in general, so what do we need to know? Basically, the national park, etc., which is found here is Mauling. Okay. Sanctuary is Dibang. Okay. Where is this exactly? As you can easily see from the image, this is in Arunachal Pradesh. Right. Here you have the Mishmi Hills. This is part of Eastern Himalaya. So of course this is at a slightly higher altitude, so which is why you can find musk deer. Again you can find red panda. Now you have seen so many different protected areas you can find red panda. Okay, this is how you can have some geographical location for the distribution of species as well. Okay, so let's say when now they give you red panda and let's say now they give you parts of Rajasthan, etc., that would of course be wrong. Okay, so again recapping, Dihang Dibang is in Arunachal. You have national park which is Mauling National Park. You have Sanctuary Dibang. Okay, you have this Mishmi Takin, red goral, deers and red panda, and this is in the Mishmi Hills. This is Dihang Dibang. Okay. Then you have the great Rann of Kutch. I told you this is the biggest biosphere reserve. Okay, area wise, right? Now what do you have here? So there are some important points that you need to know. So this is Narayan Sarovar, Kutch Bustard Sanctuary, Wild Ass Sanctuary. Now this is also very important. The Indian wild ass is endemic to this part of Great Rann of Kutch. Okay, so remember that as well, right? And you also have the Dutch Kutch Desert Wildlife Sanctuary here. There you have also a Chari Dhand wetland found in the region. So you also can have a wetland here, right? In the Great Rann of Kutch. Apart from that, see, I already told you, you can find the Indian wild ass. You can also find Great Indian Bustard. Although most of the population of Great Indian Bustard is found in Desert National Park in Rajasthan, but you can still find it in parts of central India, in some parts of south, and also in Rann of Kutch. Okay, desert fox, etc. You can also find it. Now caracal can also be found here. Caracal was recently added to species recovery program. Okay, caracal is important because it finds its mention in the medieval Indian texts as well. Okay, so that also makes it very important for you to know, right? Apart from that, what is then important for Great Rann of Kutch? You have the Banni grasslands here, and in Banni grasslands you have a very famous tribe known as Maldharis, which are found here. So that is one thing. Then the extension of Thar Desert is found here in Great Rann of Kutch, which is why you have seen a lot of desert-like fauna which is found here. Okay. Then rivers like Luni, Rumpen, Banas River, and specifically West Banas River can be found here, right? So this is related to Great Rann of Kutch. Okay. Next is cold desert. Okay. So for cold desert, what you need to know, what is the national park? This is Pin Valley National Park, number 1. Second, sanctuaries, one is Kibber, Sarchu, and Chandratal Wildlife Sanctuary. This is where a cold desert biosphere reserve actually lies, okay, and it is having snow leopard. Okay, I already asked you which is that important declaration related to snow leopard. Please let me know in the comment sections, right? So this is cold desert. Again I am asking you, this can be asked. For example, which of the following protected areas are found in cold desert? Pin Valley, Khibbar, Sarchu, Chandratal. And just to confuse you, they will add maybe protected area of central or south just to confuse you. Okay, so this is in general cold desert. All right, now moving on. Dibru-Sakhova, I told you Dibru-Sakhova area wise was the smallest biosphere reserve. Okay, this is Dibru-Sakhova, right? The largest here was the Great Rann of Kutch. All right, in Dibru-Sakhova, what you need to know, of course, the rivers are Brahmaputra, Lohit and Dibru river. Okay, apart from that, I have added a huge list of the species etc which can be found here. Okay, so you can just have a look. For example, you can find Hulok gibbon, this is important. Chinese pangolin, this was also, of course, this is in the news. Apart from that, you can find varieties of deers, langurs, cats, so on and so forth. Talking of birds, you have Bengal florican, which is also important. You have white bellied heron, this is important. Okay, so these are some of the important birds which are found in Dibru-Sakhova. But more important, you need to know which is the state. Okay, what are the, let's say, roughly the rivers and where exactly this is going to be present. Okay. And now we move to the last one on the list. This is Seshachalam Hills. So Seshachalam Hills, number 1, Andhra Pradesh. Of course, Eastern Ghats, they can confuse you whether this is Eastern Ghats or Western Ghats. Please remember that. Then Sanctuary Sri Venkateshwar, Wildlife Sanctuary. What you can find here: slender loris, Indian giant squirrel, mouse deer, okay, golden gecko. Now, slender loris is mentioned here. By the way, if you have followed your current affairs, can you tell me where is India's first slender loris wildlife sanctuary coming in? Okay, the protected area related to slender loris, where in and in which part of India is it going to come? Okay, so you can let me know in the comment section. All these things I will of course cover in a separate part lecture. Okay, so yes, this is found in Eastern Ghats, Tirupati region. Okay, so culturally very important, like for example the Seshachalam Hills, you will find the sacred site of Tirupati. Okay, you have Anjandari, you have Garudari, Narandari, Niladri, Sheshadri, Venkatadri, okay, and Vrishabhadri. All these important peaks are found in the Seshachalam Hills. And lastly, you can also find red sandalwood, which has often been in the news in the current affairs. Okay, specifically this red sanders, right? Now, so red sanders also has some red sandalwood, by the way, which has some of the medicinal properties. Okay, so this is red sandalwood. All right. So these are some things. Now again, just to put all of this in one, so you have 12 sites which are recognized in the MAB program, and there are 6 sites which are not under MAB. So it's always better or easier to know the non-MAB ones. So we'll have a recap: Great Rann of Kutch, Cold Desert, Manas, Dihang Dibang, Dibru-Sakhova and Seshachalam. These 6. And even if you see it area wise, mostly you will see these are almost on the boundaries, okay, or on the coasts, roughly speaking. Okay, so this is not very difficult. Other than that, the other 12 sites are under MAB program. Okay, so many of the students do confused here. So this slide is just to make sure you don't get confused. Okay, so herein I've tried to add in a lot of facts and a lot of, let's say, details. Okay, let me quickly have a recap here what all we have done so far. We understood what is a biosphere reserve. We also saw some of the facts related to biosphere reserves, the area under biosphere reserve, and one by one, starting from Nilgiris, Gulf of Mannar, Sunderbans, Nanda Devi, Nokrek, Panchmadi, Similipal, Achanakmar, Amarkantak, Great Nicobar, Agastyamalai, Kanchenjunga, Panna, and Manas, Dihang Dibang, Great Rann of Kutch, Cold Desert, Dibru-Sakhova, Seshachalam. So we have seen all of this. Now, in case you're wondering how to again remember all of this, number 1, because these are only 18 in number, please know the location of them, all of them, number 1. Second, which are MAB, which are non-MAB, second level of information. Third, the ones in which I've highlighted the important protected areas, like for example, Nilgiri, cold desert. So remember the name of those areas, and many of these areas were separately in the news as well. So remember, for example, I told you about Bandipur Tiger Reserve. It was in news because of invasive species known as Lantana camara. So know about it. Okay. So this is how you develop both photographic memory, and this is an area which directly or indirectly gives you at least 2 questions. So you can be thinking of almost 4 marks here. Okay. They can even ask you more. Of course, they will not ask you just based on biosphere reserve. They can ask you a geography related question or mix of environment and geography. Okay. So do this. Okay. And do the most important flora and fauna like I discussed. And lastly, only in very few areas I told you some pilgrimage site or some tribe. For example, in Agastmalai I told you Kanikaran tribe. So just do like this. Okay, so this, let's say roughly 30 minutes shall give you a lot of confidence. Okay, when you complete this topic very holistically. Okay, so this was also because some of you had requested us to cover this topic. Again, asking from you, is there any other topic which you want us to cover? Okay, we'll try to do that. So that aids you in your prelims preparation. All right. So I'll now take your leave. In case you want to join the prelims crash course for environment, the link is already shared with you. You can do so. Okay. You can make the best use of those lectures and the notes alongside. And I'll see you very soon in the next set of lecture. Thank you.